So, in the dead of night, the Japanese Pokemon YouTube channel decides to drop an absolute bombshell on us in the form of some new card reveals that are going to be for their new Battle Legion set that is coming up in February. So, of course, we're going to be getting new Pokemon VSTAR and all that good stuff, but the big thing is we're being reintroduced to kind of an old favorite style of card that has been gone for quite some time now. And that is going to be these new sparkling Pokemon cards. So, this is technically a new mechanic, but this is essentially a reintroduction of the old Gold Star cards from many years ago back into the game. The big thing with these things is that they, as you can see, they're going to be shining Pokemon, and the whole restriction to these cards is that even though they're basics, you can only have one of these in your entire deck. So it's not like Prism Stars where you can have, for example, one Hawlucha and one Greninja. You can literally only have one in your entire deck, and as a result, these cards are going to be pretty powerful, and they look pretty cool too. I really do like the way they've designed these things. But definitely, I think a very exciting new mechanic. We'll get to the translations in just a minute. But if you guys do find yourself enjoying this video, be sure to smack that like button, and let's jump in and check out what these new cards are going to do. So before we get into the sparkling Pokemon, we do have a couple of other reveals that happen alongside them for this set. First one's going to be a new Chandelure card here. We have kind of an interesting ability on this thing. We've seen it over the years. There's an Aggron with this thing. There's a Rhyperior. There might be something else I'm forgetting, but we have seen this, and it's been, hasn't seen a ton of success. But whenever you evolve into this thing, you discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So of course, we do have things like Scoop Up Net, so we can reuse Chandelure throughout the course of a game to mill our opponent. Right now we are in a pre-Brilliant Stars format, but Brilliant Stars I think is looking to give us some pretty good control cards, and I'm not sure if Chandelure is going to quite stack up to some of those other controlling options. But we'll say we also do have a Litwick here that will allow you to discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Nothing crazy, but it is always nice when the pre-evolutions to our stage 2s and stage 1s do synergize well with them. So next up we do have a new Starmie V, which definitely not one of the more exciting cards we're looking at today, but it has some okay attributes. 190 HP, Lightning Weakness, 0 Retreat, which of course is always welcome. Swift isn't too great, but Energy Spiral I think does have some potential usefulness. For 2 water energy, it does 50 times the number of energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon in play. So this is going to be pretty weak against decks like Mew, Eternatus, Rapid Strike, Urshifu. But this definitely could be good against certain decks like Shadow Rider, for example, or a little bit more notably for after Brilliant Stars, Arceus VSTAR, because they are aiming to swarm tons of energy into play with that Trinity Nova attack. So this could maybe be a decent one of for your Melanie based decks, just to be able to nuke some Arceus VSTAR out of nowhere. So that looks like might have potential, and there is a new Darkrai VSTAR we're going to look at shortly as well that is trying to swarm energy into play. It's not an amazing card, but there are certain matchups where this could be useful. So next up, finally getting into some of these sparkling Pokemon. The first one's going to be the sparkling Greninja here. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a basic Pokemon, 130 HP, Lightning Weakness, 1 retreat cost, and it has a really cool ability. Once during your turn, you may discard an energy from your hand, then draw 2 cards. And then it has 1 attack for 2 water and a colorless. You discard 2 energy from this Pokemon and does 90 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. And of course, don't apply weakness and resistance for those benched Pokemon. Now, I really do like this ability a lot, guys. We've seen a ton of cards over the years that love getting energy into the discard pile. So even think of right now, we have Flappy decks that want lightning energy in the discard pile. Water decks want to accelerate water energy with things like Frostlass and Melanie, a little bit more importantly. And even coming out in the new set, for example, we have the new Magma Basin that accelerates fire energy out of the discard. Again, another way at pitching away energies to get all of these decks set up a little bit better. So I definitely think this could be very splashable in these sorts of decks. It's a basic, so it's very easy to get in play. This attack isn't too bad either. I think a 90 snipe to 2 different Pokemon is actually kind of okay. Especially if you're going against like a VMAX deck, they're going to be set up for your multi-prize Pokemon to come in, clean up those knockouts. Of course, this attack is only going to be pretty much limited to those sorts of water decks, but this ability, I definitely would expect to see this be splashed into a number of different decks. I think Flaffy decks might not consider this just because bench space is such a luxury. But I think probably, again, like the fire decks I just mentioned, I think those are definitely a contender to play something like this. So Definitely a good start to our sparkling Pokemon so far. All right, and for our other sparkling Pokemon reveal today, we do have the sparkling Hawlucha here. 90 HP, which is fantastic, of course, because we can search this out with Level Ball. Psychic Weakness, 1 Retreat, and this ability is really what makes this card so interesting. If this Pokemon is on your bench, your Pokemon's attacks do 30 more to your opponent's active Pokemon V Max. So this is kind of like the Diancie Prism Star that we had back when that was legal. That was just a 20 buff. This is a 30 buff, but it is only limited to Pokemon V Max. I do kind of wish this was just for Pokemon V in general. That would make me a little bit happier. But hey, shutting Pokemon V Max out of the game is something I really don't mind. So I'm actually kind of cool with this, and this is going to fix math for a ton of different decks out there. So if you are one of those decks that hits kind of in that 200, 70, 80 damage range between things like Choice Belt, Inteleon, and or this sparkling Hawlucha, you now definitely have a way at creeping your damage up high enough to get those big one-shots. Now, one thing I do want to point out for both of these new sparkling Pokemon is that they do have a rule box, even though they are just single prize Pokemon. So that means things like Path to the Peak are going to shut off these powerful abilities that we have here, and that might limit to some degree at least the types of decks that you can run these in. But getting into our other reveals, we still have a bunch of cards to look at. We have a Garchomp V. Garchomp looks not his best here. I don't think they got a good angle on my boy Garchomp here. He looks a little bit derpy, but let's take a look at this thing. Dragon Pokemon, 200 HP. Does have free retreat, which is great, of course. But for water, Fighting Colorist is 120. And then for water, 2 Fighting Colorist, you discard 3 energy and do 220 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Like, 220 is actually a good number to snipe for. That's going to knock out basically any 2-prize Pokemon or unevolved 2-prize Pokemon. So the numbers it hits for there are definitely good, but chaining this over and over definitely seems like something that's probably not going to happen. You play 2 different types of energies, and they're both kind of hard to accelerate. You can go like Melanie, attach, and then there is a new item card that we're going to look at that might help you cheat some fighting energy into play, but maybe this could be like an Arceus V-Star target. I'm not sure. This doesn't strike me as being great though. Up next, we have a new V-Star. We have Lucario VSTAR, and we do have a new Lucario V as well. There is one already in format. I believe it came out in, I think it was actually Fusion Strike, if I remember right. But we do have a new one here, and I love the art on this thing. One of the best Lucario illustrations I think we've had in a while. But 50 discard energy could be okay. But Lucario VSTAR, of course, a little bit more interesting. Let's take a look at this thing. 270 HP, our first 270 HP V-Star. 2 attacks, fighting, 2 colorist is 120. If your opponent's active as a V, it does 120 more damage. So 240 is okay. Now, if we are playing a double turbo energy, that is going to reduce our damage down to 220, which is still fine. That still is more than likely going to one-shot any of the unevolved Pokemon V that you go against. But if you can power this up without the double turbo energy, if you go Choice Band, that will allow you to hit 270. So you would be able to knock out opposing Lucarios and then other things like Shaman, Leafeon, even Charizard once they damage themselves. So this could hit for decent numbers. I think this card is definitely going to be a bit of a pain to power up. But we do have, like I said, a new item card that can accelerate fighting energy. So we will be taking a look at that too. And then it's V-Star power, 70 times the number of energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. This is okay against very select decks. I think on average, you're only hitting 140, sometimes 210. But there are definitely decks like Arceus, for example, that are going to aim to swarm a ton of energy into play. And so it's going to be good against decks like that. And of course, Shadow Rider as well. Alrighty guys, but getting into Darkrai V-Star, Darkrai V, I do want to point out, looks very sick. I think this and Lucario V both look great, so they are killing it on the art for these regular Vs. Nothing too special about Darkrai V, but Darkrai V-Star definitely gets a little bit more enticing here. So 270 HP, Grass Weakness, and a 2 retreat cost. But its attack here, Dark Pulse, for 2 colorless energy, does 30, plus 30 more for each dark energy attached to your Pokemon. Okay, so this is another one of these swarming or energy swarming attacks, kind of like Shadow Rider, Bolton VMAX, etc. But now for dark Pokemon, and there are actually a couple of ways at powering up our dark Pokemon, which we will get to later in this video too. But this ability is also very good. During your turn, you may search your discard pile for up to 2 item cards and put them into your hand. Very, very, very good V-Star power that we have here. But the big question is, well, okay, we want to get a bunch of energy into play. How are we going to do that? So of course we do have the stage 2 Hydreigon still in the format, so that is an option. But also too, we have Galarian Moltres V, which is of course a staple for dark decks. But after the set releases, we are actually getting a reprint of the fan favorite card Dark Patch. Let me scroll down here. Yeah, Dark Patch, absolutely incredible card. One of the best item cards of all time. I would even go as far as to say. It's actually going to be the 10-year anniversary for Dark Patch too. So good timing for this thing. Oh my god, has it really been 10 years? I feel so old making this segment right now, but yeah, I remember when Dark Patch first came out. But it's an item, it allows you to accelerate a dark energy from discard to one of your bench dark Pokemon. So that is how we're going to be powering up our Darkrai V-Star, and being able to use that V-Star power to get 2 more Dark Patches back at some point is absolutely huge. So you could even forgo Hydreigon, just build this just with Dark Patches and your Galarian Moltres V. But also, I mean, you could maybe attempt to go the Hydreigon route, because you could use this ability to grab, for example, Ultra Ball Rare Candy out of your discard pile if you ever need to. Darkrai definitely has some options at being powered up, and of course this hits Mew VMAX for weakness, so we kind of have to take this seriously to some degree here. But pretty exciting card, really looking forward to seeing how this winds up shaping up. But we do have one other card we're going to take a look at here. That is going to be the new Gutsy Pickaxe, and this card might have some potential. So it's an item that says reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a fighting energy, attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. Otherwise, reveal it and put it into your hand. So effectively, this is just a straight draw one that sometimes hits you a fighting energy. That's actually not too bad. Draw one cards haven't been like super impactful. We have seen things like Judge Whistle that did see some degree of play when they came out. But I will say this, I think the secondary effect of this is a good bit better than that of Judge Whistle. And there's a bunch of ways we can guarantee this fighting energy. Of course, we do have a Ranguru still in the format with that Primate Wisdom ability. We can just put a fighting energy on top of our deck. So in terms of fighting Pokemon we want to power up, this could be an alternate way you power up an Urshifu, like a Rapid Strike Urshifu in one turn. Of course, we can play this with the new Lucario VSTAR, and even the new single prize Lucario that we're getting in Brilliant Stars could be a good contender for this. But yeah, fighting Pokemon usually just don't have the greatest acceleration. Anything that they can get to sort of help them out along the way is definitely going to be welcome, because right now the only options are Colossal, which is a stage 2 and only accelerates 1 fighting energy. We have B, which discards the top cards of your deck. And then I think we also have the Galarian Zapdos, which you could play with energy switches, and none of this stuff is very good, guys. So any help fighting Pokemon can get definitely is going to be welcome. So that's going to be it for our new card reveals today. Gotta say, these things look insane. I am very excited to see what else is going to come out in this set. Let me know your full thoughts down below in the comment section. Which of these new cards today are you most looking forward to? I want to know all of your full thoughts down below in the comment section. But with that being said, if you did find yourself enjoying this video today, be sure to leave a like on this video to help feed the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to take your support to the next level, you of course can always become a patron at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or pick up some merch over at rarecandytcg.com. Links to all those will be down below in the description. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.